Hi. This is an attempt, my first attempt at trying to narrate my autobiography, my biography, in small bits here and there as I get time. So I'm going to take a while in trying to record this. So this is just a sample to see how it will turn out. So I'm going to start my life story with my childhood memories. Sometimes even when you're so young, there are certain I would call snapshots, or maybe 30 seconds of something that happened you never forget. I'm 66 years old, so I could still remember certain things when I was almost a child. The earliest memory I have is I must have been in kindergarten, and we were living in a town called Goregaon in Bombay. It was at that time it was like the outskirts of Bombay. Now Bombay is called Mumbai, and the railway used to run north and south, and we were on the western side. So from our house, if you went about a couple of miles, the beach would be there. And we were very close, we were like maybe 200 meters from the train station. There used to be something called chawls. Chawls are small, small two-room, like each room was either 8 by 8 or yeah, 8, not even 10 by 10. I think two small units, and it had doors on both sides, and all of them were attached. There were maybe 10 or 20 of them attached, row houses. In the south, we call them line houses. It was called chawl in Hindi. So that particular place was called Chotani Chawl. And of course, later on, when I came to know a little bit of Hindi, I realized Chotrani means small queen. And across from our back door was a big bungalow, and that used to be the Chota Rani's house. Big bungalow those days. When you're so young, I must have been 3 or 4, everything looks big to you. So the earliest I remember it was my birthday, July 31st, and Bombay is a monsoon season at that time. And there used to be an old grandma, a lady, who used to take about 5 or 6 kids in that neighborhood to the school. She would walk us there and then bring us back in the afternoon. So it was heavy rains, and I had a small raincoat. I remember it used to be called duck back raincoat. And of course, being my birthday boy, I didn't have to wear my uniform, and I could wear my birthday dress. So my mom had put the dress on me. I remember one small gold color pin they used to put here. It was like I don't know, something, a decorative piece, small one, tiny. And so my mom dressed me up, put that raincoat and all those things, and kissed me goodbye. And that grandma came to fetch me so she could hold our hands, and she would carry all our bags on her shoulder, because we had nothing. We probably had one book or some snacks in it. And my mom kissed me and bid goodbye and told the grandma, "Oh, grandma, make sure, my son is so pretty today, make sure no girls kidnap him. So, with that encouragement, I went to school that day. So that was one of my earliest memories of school of that age. Another small incident I remember was uh, my school was on the other side of the railway track, but walkable distance, and it was called, I think, St. Thomas Convent. And attached to the convent, of course, was a church, St. Thomas Church. And what seemed at this time, the entrance stairs was now, and at that age, everything looks big. For me, if today I have to say, compare it, it's like the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. You see how much of stairs it is. It looked that big to me, but I'm sure it was only like 10 or 15 steps to reach the church. Church was a little raised because it was right along the road that runs parallel close to the railway track. So they must have built it on a little higher ground, or maybe there was something down below that, maybe a kitchen or something, and the church was on the top. So this church steps had the side walls coming down the steps, which was like had a curved edge on the top, so we could hold our hand and walk down. So when inside the church, when the mass was going on, we 3-year-old, 4-year-old boys, I guess girls, used to come and play on that thing like a slide, the kids slide we have. So that was our slide those days. So till that mass was over, we would do that, and we would knew the mass was coming to an end because all the prayers, everything would stop for some time. That was the Holy Communion time. Everybody quietly goes and receives the Holy Communion in the tongue. And so after that, it's like 5 minutes or 10 minutes all over. So around that time, we would all quietly go back and sit next to our parents. So the reason I remember that particular church and everything was I used to have a full pant. Those days, full pant, was a big deal because we are all given only shorts to wear. So I had a red pant, full pant, and apparently, I must have grown out of it. It didn't fit me anymore. And I had a cousin also who lived in the same area, who used to come to the same church. And he was actually a little older than me, maybe a year or 6 months older. But he was born in a 7-month pregnancy. So he was always a little short, shorter than me. So I saw him suddenly when we were playing that slide on the church side, the step sides. He was wearing that red pant. And I went close by, I looked at it, and I knew it was mine. I started crying. I said, "No, give me, it's my pant, remove it right now." And then I remember I went in and went to my mother and started crying. He's wearing my pant, he's not giving it to me. So my mom said, "I only gave it to him." I said, "But why did you give it? It's one of my favorite pants." She said, "No, it was too short for you. You have become a big boy now." And so, he was smaller than you, so I gave it to him. So after that, of course, I don't remember, but I must have cried and said, "No, I want it, it's my favorite." So that's the memory of the school days. Another school day memory, I have two memories I will tell you. Two memories I told you of my school days I had was three memories actually. Uh, Near our school, we were in the Goregaon, and there used to be a big, famous milk dairy those days. It was called, I think, RA Milk Colony, and it was for me at that time it was the world's largest milk dairy because it was all automated machines, and they used to make flavored milk like green milk and pink milk in small glass bottles, and they had that aluminum foil on the top. They would sell that in the stores. So that colony used to give, I don't know whether they had excess milk or it was part of their business. Our school used to get milk to be distributed free to all the kids. So I remember it was such a, like maybe at that time, as I told you, everything was big. A big container full of milk was boiling. Then the two, three people used to carry the whole thing and come and keep it on a table. And we all had to go in a line with a mug in our hand, and they would pour the milk into that. And then we used to go and then drink the milk. This was during the morning recess around 11 o'clock. So that one memory I have. The other memory is really funny. Uh, our school, suddenly there was a talk that our school is becoming a high school. And when they said our school is becoming a high school, at that age we could not say the phonetic ha, ha, high school. No, we would say ice school, like ice, water becoming ice. The ice school. We used to call it ice school. So I said, oh my God, our school must be getting walls must be getting replaced with blocks of ice. That's why they said that it's going to be called ice school. So one day I remember very well, it had some kind of a stucco finish. The small grains, round grains of sand is put there at a lower level. I don't know why they do that, but some up to about 6 feet. It was painted grey in color, and when nobody was looking, I went to the side and I said, this doesn't look like ice. It looks like regular building wall to me, but let me check it out. And I went close by and started licking it. Then of course, because I could all feel was cement. So I said, either it has not become an high school yet, or they lied. So that was a very funny remembrance of my childhood. Another childhood in that class, which is nothing to be proud of. I think it was something like a math class or something. And the teacher was writing something on the board, and apparently she must have written something and then said, oh, and she must have written wrong. So she took a duster to rub it off and correct and write it. And I was one of those backbenchers sitting. So when she realized her mistake and she was going to rub it, I don't remember this, but later on I blurted out Buddhu, the word Buddhu. Buddhu in Hindi means idiot. And the guy next to me, I remember his name for some reason. His name was Pascal. Pascal, like the scientist name. And he started laughing loudly. So the teacher got mad and turned at us and said, hey you, why are you laughing? So of course Pascal, got worried because he had laughed and disturbed the class. So he stood up and said, I pointed to me, he said, Ignatius called you Buddhu, teacher. Oh my God. So the teacher said, come here. I was down there. I must have got couple of cane beatings. And then for the rest of the day, I was sent out. I had to stand outside the class, stand and follow the class, or maybe the teacher's class. So that was a very funny, but Quite honestly, I don't remember saying that, but I could have because those kids, we always blurt out things on those kind of stuff. And finally, one more small thing I remember in my childhood, two things. All I remember was my father and mother used to fight all the time, especially in the nights. My mom was working in the Bombay Customs. My father was a mill worker working in a mill. I remember that mill used to be in a town or station called Dadar. And just by the station there used to be a big mill. It used to be a huge mill those days. Again, everything looked very big because I had gone and seen my father sometimes there. And, it was like ear exploding sound with all the lathes running. And my father was apparently he's given 4 or 8 machines to monitor. He was working there. He was just a mill worker. So, and my mom was educated those days. I have to tell you about their marriage, which didn't end up well. So, anyway, the thing I remember I wanted to tell you was two things. One night, my mom, the fight was going on. I must have been sleeping, 3 years, 4 years old, and of course I woke up because of the big fight between my mom and dad. So there are two rooms. We sleep in one room, the front room. There used to be a big bed. Everything's big, and that was our living room. So if anybody came, they would sit on the bed edge, and just enough for the door entry. It was not even a door, it was just opening in the wall that came into a kitchen area. My mom had gone to the kitchen and picked up a can of kerosene we keep. We had only kerosene stoves. And she poured it on herself and she was trying to light herself. She wanted to die, kill herself. So she was searching for her matchbox or something. And then she found it. And then my father grabbed it from her. And of course, I remember I went there and I sat or I was in front of my mom. My mom was sitting on the floor and I was standing, and I must have been the same height as she was sitting down. I was that small, and I was crying, pleading with her not to burn herself. So that was one of those bad memories I have of their relationship. And then maybe the following year or after a few months, I don't remember, they said we are all going to Madras then. Now it's called Chennai. And the things we were going to take was behind a van, an open, like a pickup truck. But to me those days, I was so tiny, it looked like a big lorry, truck. So all the things were loaded in the back van. And the driver and my father probably sat in the front cab, and my mom, me, and one more auntie was there. We were sitting in the open truck bed behind, and we were going to the railway station. Because the railway station from where the trains left was like, I don't know, maybe an hour's drive away. So that was another of my childhood memories in Bombay. Of course, after that I came to Chennai and I was studying 3rd standard, and I was studying a regular school year in India like here. It was like June of a year to July, May of the following year of the academic year. So I was halfway through. It was, I remember, November or December we were moving. So I went there to Chennai and they had to admit me into school. And there, the school I studied was St. Bede's High School in Santon. It's about a mile from our house. And my grandfather used to be a French teacher there, French or Latin. It was a Salesians priest's church. So they admitted me, but because their calendar year goes from January to December, so I had to be readmitted into the January class of the third standard. So I had already done 6 months of third standard, so I had to do another full year of third standard. And I will tell you more stories, but the school basically was the Salesians, which is the order of Saint Ignatius of Loyola. And the feast of Saint Ignatius Loyola is on July 31st. And since I was born that day, I was named Ignatius. That's how I got my name, Ignatius. My grandfather had just come from the church after the morning mass. He goes for 6 o'clock mass, or 7:30. I was born at 7:30. They were all very staunch Catholics. When I was born, my grandfather apparently said, it is a feast of Saint Ignatius, so we'll name him Ignatius. So that's it. And incidentally, I was born at home in my grandfather's house upstairs. It was a thatched hut. It was one of those births where you are born in a hut roof. Actually, it was a cement and brick building, but upstairs was covered. We had those open terrace that's covered with the thing. That used to be where my grandfather sat. And my mom had decided to have the baby, which was me, at home, which was very common those days. Not very common, but kind of common, because I had an elder brother, 2 years older to me, who was born in the hospital and died 2 days later because my mom said they used something like forceps to pull the child out, and that had damaged his head, the brain or whatever. So he died 2 days later, and so I was born as the second child, and for me, my mom refused to go to the hospital. So that's how I was, story of how I was born. On July 31st, at home, in a thatched hut, made out of dried coconut leaves. We'll continue.